It is quite challenging when you're a foster parent and you've got to have your young person at home. Um, and I think the first thing to do is to recognise that your home is not really the school. It's a completely different environment with different pressures. So expecting the young person to just suddenly be the same as they are at school is quite a big ask for them. I think that we need to support them by providing an environment where they feel that they are accessing education and they are able to do their work, but knowing your young person and what they need is really the key. So some young people will need structure and they will need to, be looking at their books, where other young people will really struggle with that kind of structure. And if you know what your young person needs, then you're halfway there. Most of the time they suggest to make a timetable that suits you, because as a foster parent, you're going to have loads of things that you're going to need to do in your day. You're going to have, pickups, drop-offs, appointments. So the more regimental the timetable is, the more challenging it's going to be for the foster parent and the more stressed everyone's going to be. So making a timetable that fits around everybody's needs is the best way. There's a lot of pressure when you've got a young person at home to try and say, right, let's sit down, let's do maths, let's do English, let's do science. And for some of our young people, that pressure is quite overwhelming and they need a short span of time to kind of do those subjects, and they need help with focus, and they might not be able to have enough attention span to kind of keep that going for a long period of time. So knowing when to have regular breaks or exercise or fresh air or walks can kind of create that balance. We do want our young people to be accessing education when they're at home, but that doesn't necessarily have to look like school. That has to look like something that fits them. So that could be doing something practical, like thinking about making a menu, and writing down the menu, shopping for the ingredients, using maths to budget, then going into the shop and using their math skills, making it at home, weighing and measuring, and then maybe finding a short period of time to do some of the work that school might have set at home, and just creating that balance. We've got to look at our young people and look at their skills and their talents and use that for them to lead their own learnings. When they lead their learning, then they're motivated and they want to do it. And it's called discrete learning, where they don't realise they're actually learning new skills because they're having so much fun doing what they love. And that's kind of where is a really good place to be when they're at home. When a young person isn't at school, it's actually an opportunity to be imaginative and creative and go out and see sights, do things, go on public transport and have those lovely experiences and make those memories and not feel guilty about it, because that is education. It's a cultural experience that a teacher in a school with 30 children can't do that and can't give that time to a one-to-one, but a foster parent can, and that will be something that that young person will remember for the rest of their life. The day they went to London and they saw a garden, they saw Buckingham Palace, and that's the best learning. We use technology to look at video clips that are science clips, because so many young people are used to seeing things on screen and are interactive, and a lot of our young people have got great visual, and that's what works for them. That's how they retain information. Also making sure that they do have those social situations with other young people, because it's easy to forget that those are skills, having to interact with other people, and the basics that we will take for granted, going into a cafe and ordering a cup of tea and being able to hold a conversation and say thank you and please. And these are all really, really, really invaluable skills that I think are easily forgotten, but they kind of make a massive impact on our young people. When we think about our young people, they've come from some, really complex situations, and they really thrive when they've got that investment of nurture and one-to-one and care and attention and love, and that's invaluable, really. And that is really good grounding and really good foundation for helping them to become independent young people with great confidence and great self-esteem. And all these things are not just about skills, they're also about boosting our young people's self-esteem and their confidence, which will only help them to go on and do really well when they go back into school, or when they start a new school, or in social situations as well. So at ISP, once our young people are out of school for 3 weeks, then they will have some support with funding for educational resources. But I think all agencies will be very different in their approach. The virtual school should be able to support with educational resources when they're not in school. And depending on the situation, the virtual school should be able to support with tutoring whilst the young person isn't in school and whilst they're waiting for a school place. The advisory teacher role, my role, I've helped lots of foster parents in various ways. So I try to support foster parents to understand that they don't have to be a teacher, because I think once you think you have to be a teacher, then it's quite overwhelming. So to kind of reassure them and help them to understand what kind of activities they can do with their young people, give them some ideas and some advice. I've set up timetables so that they've got some kind of structure of how to go about the day, or they might want to do their own timetables, which is absolutely fine. We've got lots of resources that we can provide for different ages, whether it's early years or college or secondary school. And also, if the child is out of school, they're on roll at school, but they're not at school, then it's, I suppose, liaising with the school to make sure that they're getting the work from school that they need and that they're able to access the curriculum. They're being sent work that's at their level. So you don't want to have a child that has lots of work that's really above their level, and they're trying to do that with the help of a foster parent who's trying their best, who's not a teacher. So I think that's where the advisory teacher can really support the foster parent and help them understand where the child is at, what their needs are, and how they can support them with their learning, not just with core subjects, but as I said, with lots of different activities.